Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the edition of Santa Podcast. It's the first show of our new feature on Friday nights. Myself and Luke Stevenson will be talking to various people from the drag racing world, be it racer, organiser. We just got to wait and see who our guests are going to be. But Luke, good afternoon, good evening. How are you, my good friend?
Good evening, Colin. Oh, it's so good to see your face and more importantly, to hear your voice. It's so reassuring for me. It makes me think that I'm at the home at SantaPod Raceway. This week has been good and I've enjoyed the sunshine, but I'm ready to get racing. How about yourself?
Yeah, really good. I've managed to shed a few pounds. I was getting a little bit heavy towards the old Christmas period and coming out the other side, but I know you and I had a bit of a chat at the awards earlier on in the year, but yeah, managed to keep the weight coming off. So that's my good news. How about you and the hair?
Well, the hair, let's not talk about that. I've managed to fluff something up for today, but that'll do. But you know what? You've just reminded me of that bet, and I'd completely forgotten about that. I'd been working so hard with fitness just to try and get myself fitting in the dragster. It's a weird seating position, and to get in and out of it, you need to be of a certain physique. Talking of physiques and dragsters, we have two guests on today's show who will know everything about getting in and out of dragsters. Who have we got today?
Well, where could we absolutely start? Let's go right to the top of European Top Fuel Dragster Racing, of course, the FIA European Championship. This is where everybody aims to be one day. And we have the current and four-time European Top Fuel champion that's joined us all the way from Finland. Of course, the one and only Anita Mäkelä. Anita, good evening to you. How are you?
Hi, everyone. I have been missed you really badly. I have missed you all. So it's really good to be here.
This is the first time that we've seen you since, the European finals. We saw you at the British Drag Racing Hall of Fame Awards, obviously, where you're inducted into the European Hall of Fame. So that is absolutely fantastic. We were looking forward to seeing you in May, where you come out to defend your European title. So I think you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer before we start adding some more trophies to that very impressive display behind you there.
Well, yes, we were getting ready to add a few more trophies to the shelf. But as you all know, that there are some small delays now in the plans. But the game plan was to be ready at main event and to fight to keep the number one into the back wing.
Well, you've had that number one on there for 2 seasons. I think the plan obviously was to defend it and take it for the 3rd year in a row. But obviously, we just got to see how things work out going forward. Now, bearing in mind number ones, there's another dragster that will be carrying a number one this year. And that, of course, is in the UK Championship for Super Comp. The champion for 2019, and this is where the smiles really start going to kick in for our second guest, of course, is Leah Kellett. Leah, good evening to you. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good, thanks. To you?
Yeah, we're absolutely fantastic. It's lovely to see you, lovely to hear you. But I bet, like everybody else, you're missing action on the quarter mile, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. It's all I do now. That's what I live for. I just don't do anything but do that. So it is quite boring, yeah.
Do you two actually know each other at the racetrack as such? I know, Leah, you've seen Anita race plenty of times.
Yes, I know this young lady as well. And I remember her very well jumping last summer at Hockenheim.
Yeah.
She won there. Yeah, and but of course I have seen your name even before, and I knew you before as well. But at Hockenheim, I really remember you coming and jumping to the trophy presentation.
I came right over to you. I was so excited.
I think Hockenheim trophy presentation is a little bit party atmosphere like, and especially whenever you go and get your trophies, Leah, it is a little bit noisy, I must say that.
Yeah, it's really exciting, isn't it, though? Especially in Hockenheim. I love the setup there. It's amazing. The tent and all the beers flowing, and it's just really good. Great atmosphere there.
Also joining us on our Santa podcast this evening, of course, is Keith Bartlett. Keith, a very, very good evening to you, and welcome to the Santa podcast.
Good evening, Colin and Luke. I'm absolutely delighted to be on the first Santa podcast, and let's see, it should be very interesting.
Well, of course, we've got Anita here, we've got Leah here, an international flavour today.
Yep. Well, we are an international sport, so an international flavour. SantaPod attracts them from all around the world.
Oh, brilliant. The first segment of our show today is going to be talking to Keith Bartlett, of course, the CEO of Trackback Racing Limited, which owns and runs SantaPod Raceway. In addition, Keith owns the commercial and promotional rights to the FIME, which is the European Drag Bike Championship. Keith is also chairman of the Drag Racing Europe, which owns the promotional and commercial rights to the FIA European Drag Racing Championship. Well, I think everybody's going to be eager to hear what you've got to say to everybody, Keith. And the obvious opening question that we have to ask, COVID-19 virus, it's affected SantaPod Raceway. But how do you see SantaPod coming out of this lockdown, and how will SantaPod and its events look when this does happen?
Yeah, that's the kind of $64,000 question on everybody's lips, be it in drag racing or probably any other area of business. Firstly, it's greatly affected us, of course. The lockdown came about a week before we ran our first meaningful event. We had a couple of very small run what you brung in February. Funny enough, they were rain affected, surprise, surprise. And then since then, you know, once we got to just before the Fast Show, which was our first big event, then the lockdown came in. So it's very, 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 very difficult. Added to that, you've then got everyone, pretty much the 30 to 40 full-time staff are near enough all furloughed. We've got about 2 or 3 of us are still unfurloughed and working full-time. Part-time staff have pretty much been laid off because we're not running events. It's tough, really tough. And at the same time, you know, the site would deteriorate slowly. There won't be any normal maintenance in. So it becomes a bit of a double whammy, really. You get hit twice. You can't proceed with improvements, and because there's nobody in, and you've got no money to do those improvements anyway. So it is difficult. So it has had a dramatic effect. Well, I'm pleased to say we've been working quite diligently, and several of the staff, the key staff that aren't furloughed, we've been putting together plans for the future, looking at how we're going to come out of it. And again, the next big question, be it $64,000 or $100,000 question, is when will we come out of it? And I suppose if we follow all the current information from both the government and the media and everything, we're going to come out of it on a slow process, much like other European countries. And sadly, the outside events business, corporate hospitality business, the leisure business generally is probably going to be the very last to come out totally. Now, this is only my assumptions. I'm by no means right, and I hope I'm completely wrong. But if it's going to take us several more months before we're even allowed to return to any level of events, then that means it's going to be a tough season. On the other hand, if we were to be allowed to start putting on smaller events from midsummer, let's say July, August, and I can't say what numbers because we don't know, then of course the minute we can, we'll be putting events on. And quite frankly, if we're allowed, like I suspect, the first few events will be limited to 500 people, we will open up straight away with run what you brungs, pro testing, sports and races testing. So I can see the testing and smaller level of events actually coming back sometime towards the end of the summer or the autumn. Hey, who knows? Maybe the government will make a sweeping statement in June and we're ready to run in July. One thing's for sure, in my opinion, the economy cannot take this. And it's going to have an effect on everybody, not least SantaPod. And one thing that's very clear to me, our plans through this winter or next winter to resurface the shutdown area, to make several other major improvements, will probably be put back by at least 12 months.
It's a lot to digest and take in.
Well, can I say, Colin, look at this little cup. It says, emergency, ask Keith. Try it.
Go on, Luke. You must have a question for Keith at this stage. What you got for him?
Well, obviously, I was listening in, and the information about the potential races was very interesting. And like you said, some of the developments that SantaPod will be looking to in the future, I'm pretty sure everyone will be completely understanding. SantaPod is already an amazing facility. So if it takes a couple of years to us to get back on track, the main thing is, and I'm sure SantaPod fans and racers will understand, is as long as SantaPod is there, that's the main thing that most people will care about.
I actually agree with that, Luke, and thank you for those comments. And this gives me the opportunity actually to say we've had huge support. I know our brand, and it's easy for me to say it because I wouldn't I? But our brand is a very, very well-known brand worldwide. I'd go as far as to say probably outside of the States, probably the best-known brand in drag racing, and probably better known than some of those in the States as well. And one of the things we try to help the people who've supported us through this lockdown is, if you go onto our credit system, you will get 24 months to use the ticket, not just 12. We always give you 12 months to use that ticket to the same value as, but now we're extending that to 24 months. A, because I think it's just showing a great sign of gratitude from us, and B, it gives the people who's a bigger scope of when to use their ticket. They may have other priorities before they come back to us. So that's absolutely brilliant. And the other people I've got to thank is our sponsors. They've been absolutely unbelievable. The support we've had from them financially of not demanding their sponsorship monies back and rolling over to next year or supporting us in whatever. It's just, and all our main sponsors to the man have done it, including Autoglim, Draper Tools, Lucas Oil, VP Oil. We've had STP. I say VP Oil, it's VP Fuels, but they're going into the oils. We've just done brilliantly with all these people. They've been so supportive. It's just incredible. And even some of the sponsors that we aren't massive, but we've been with for several years, NGK, they are all coming out and supporting us. So along with those I've mentioned and all our associate sponsors that are too many to mention in some ways, the small people who make a very small contribution, those small contributions are really important, and I'd like to thank all our sponsors for that support. It's had a huge impact in helping SantaPod through this really difficult crisis.
Well, it takes a good sponsor to get onto the branding. Obviously, with SantaPod, obviously we've got Autoglim, Lucas Oils, Draper Tools here. You can see them all on the SantaPod shirts as well. These are the core companies that really do help drag racing, not only in the UK, but obviously throughout Europe as well. But it's fantastic that you do get these companies that do give you that support, and they are also big, passionate drag racing fans themselves. The companies, the people that work for them. So it's just as important for them to stay involved with you, and of course SantaPod Raceway, as it is for us to actually have them as sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, also it's I mustn't ignore or leave out the racers themselves. Many enter into events in advance, especially events like Dragstalgia, where we get the older competitors, the door slammers, which is a event which should have been in its third year or fourth year. I've lost track. But those people who've pre-entered have all come back and said, no, we don't want our entry back. We want to help roll it over. By and large, it's just been an overwhelming, humbling support. Just shows you how strong the brand of SantaPod is. And I would say it's because of support, especially from our spectators and fans who have bought tickets in advance. Those who go on to credit are actually helping SantaPod probably 3 times the value of what they've actually paid for every single one of them.
They're also desperate to come back. I mean, we see it on social media as well. Obviously, you see it from the company point of view, but Luke and I, we both follow social media quite heavily on Facebook pages, on obviously with Luke, with Front Wheel Drive, with the VWC, myself with the National Drag Racing Championships. We're all looking at absolutely everything. And you're dead right. Everybody is so keen to support everything that's going on, and just desperate to get back. But everybody treats SantaPod as their second home. And they want to go back to their second home. I mean, Luke, I'm sure you agree with that as well.
But as you said, drag racing is kind of like a family, and we look at events like Ultimate Streetcar and Bug Jam. Now, to coin a phrase, they are a way of life. There is people that have been to Bug Jam for as long as it's been going on, over 30 years, and they know that 1 year that they missed, and it'll always be in their head. Obviously, with these events and the social distancing sort of thing, if we can't hold those events on the dates that we originally planned, do you think they may look to be rescheduled, or would there be a gap in people's years in the coming future?
A very appropriate question. We are looking all the time. It depends on the government. If the government, those particular events, take the Bug Jam, which is a bit of an institution, we know there are 2 conditions or 2 provisos. One, what is the number of people to be allowed by the government? if they said come September, October, you can have your 5,000 a day or 10,000 a day, then we could say, right, we'll have bug jam. But there are restrictions. What would the weather be like? Although with that said, the last 2 years of bug jam's been rained out and the place has been rammed. But perhaps a bigger concern is actually getting the acts to recommit. We've all paid the acts, had deposits, we've got arranged dates. Lots of those acts have got other dates. So it would be a question of juggling and seeing if we could get everybody together. Again, how would the bar work? Would it all be outside and fed? Fortunately for us in bug jam, most of the kids that drink come to the outside bar near all the performance areas of the stage and the tent. So we could manage it. It's all down to the restriction on the numbers by the government. But if it's feasible, we will definitely consider doing it. And then the same could apply for the FIA finals, FIA European Drag Racing Championship and the FIM Europe in September. How would we deal with that? Well, there's probably bigger concerns there. Like the government announced today, there's going to be quarantine for anyone coming in, although I understand that it does not apply to EU citizens. So there are so many factors to be taken into account. It's hard to predict what will happen with some of those events. But I'll just summarise by saying, as soon as we can hold events to whatever level we can hold them, we'll be doing so.
I wouldn't even like to contemplate trying to put a schedule together once we come out of this. As you say, you've got such a small operational window where the weather is actually going to be raceable, say, I don't know, towards the end of August. And then you've probably got, 2 months where the track is going to be good enough to...
I would say September and October. November is a bit of an unknown. November can be definitely cold, but could be dry. We are planning to try and look at some winter events, and before you all start laughing, one called the Winter Nationals, but it might not quite be drag racing at the level we would like to see. But I'd like to put a New Year's Eve party on and a New Year's Day event, which we could call the Winter Nationals. And we would then at least run jet cars. We hopefully would have a large indoor arena for car shows. And if the track's dry, we would do whatever we could from the minimum of a cattle fest, if not run some actual cars. But it's hard to project that. Again, completely decided and controlled by the numbers the government will allow on site.
Well, I've already booked New Year's Eve to come up to SantaPod anyway. So as soon as you put that one out there, I thought, yeah, that's why I'm going. Luke, have you done the same?
Oh, 100%. I am so ready for New Year's Eve at SantaPod Raceway. I'm not sure the wife will agree, but we're coming. She doesn't get a choice.
Let me tell you a funny story. I've wanted to do this for several years. And, I've always wanted to put an event on New Year's Day and a party preceding it New Year's Eve. And, number one, there's been some views in the company it'll never work. Some views support me. But the real let's just say the ticket that has prevented it is, hey, we work all through the year from February to the beginning of November. We need to have our Christmas break. And they do get a reasonable break. We break up something like the 19th of December and come back on the 7th of January. But this year, above all years, where we've just had so much time off, guess what? My plan is to do the New Year's Eve party and the New Year's Day. If it works and it proves successful, it will be a regular on the calendar. And I can chalk that one up as the one that got away didn't get away. I got it back thanks to the lockdown.
You already asked me a question I was going to ask then, actually. If it's successful, I hope you would continue to do it. But it sounds like we just got to make sure this first one works.
But the chance to try it means there's always a silver lining when those big clouds come over.
Right. Well, Keith, for the time being, it's been fantastic having your input, especially going forward with the progress of this COVID-19 situation and SantaPod Raceway. But for the time being, Keith, thank you so very much indeed.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you to Luke. And to use my favourite expression, see you at the track.
We certainly will do. Thanks very much indeed there. Keith Bartlett, CEO of Trackback Racing Limited. Okay, so we go over to Finland and have a proper chat with our current European Top Fuel champion, Anita Mäkelä. Anita, how did you get into drag racing and what made you actually take it up?
Well, I spent one summer in Ohio State when I was 16 years old. I was like an exchange student and I saw the Pontiac Trans Am. And on those days, all the muscle cars were, very popular. and I lost my heart to Pontiac Trans Am. Behind of my back, as you can see, I got a car, and I still got it. I bought it 30 years ago already. But anyway, that Pontiac took me to American car world, and that holds cruising evenings, American car shows, and drag racing. And once I overheard what one competition dragster from Norway, which was supposed to be a very good one, was for sale. And it made me wonder, what about, could I buy it and start this sport as well? And I did.
So had you not driven anything down a drag strip at all, or even down the high street, or let's just say not on a drag strip, before you actually had to go to dragster on the strip?
There was one street race, and they promised to give like a special prize to the fastest lady. And I borrowed one neighbor guy's car, and I went there, and I won that special prize. And that left like a spark into me. And yeah, but in the late 80s, I felt that drag racing was so popular. All my friends, they either were racing themselves or they were part of some other teams.
Nice. Hi, Anita. Great to see you. It's Luke here. How long have you actually been drag racing yourself in the car?
It was 87 when I bought that competition dragster, and it came to Finland for the last event, which was taking place in Motopark. We won that, and because we were a brand new team, we were having more energy and enthusiasm than knowledge, and we heard that there's one more race in Europe called SantaPod Raceway. We took a map. SantaPod, where's that? And we load we have to, of course, borrow parts and trailer and everything. But we did that, and we got to SantaPod. And with a brand new team and car, in elimination day, I crashed it. So I was all over the field with my nice competition dragster. But there again, to be part of like a team and to do together, the guys I asked to join my team, they were very into the sport as well. And they said that if I can get a new chassis, they're going to build me a new engine. And next winter that happened. So although I crashed my car in the first SantaPod, it didn't even occur to our mind to quit and stop. On the contrary, we became stronger as we were back to the racing.
Now, obviously, your racing career, Anita, has been so, I'm not saying governed, but it's been you and Tommy for like 20 years as a team as such. But I could have asked how does your partner feel about your drag racing? We already know about that. But what about your children, Anita? How do they feel about the racing?
So I am one of the very few ladies who has established a team or motorsport company by herself. And after having this competition dragster and team running, I end up meeting my current husband, Tommy, and we established together this Top Fuel team, Tommy and Anita Top Fuel team. And when the kids were born, they were actually born into drag racing world. They've been with us ever since they were born. Nowadays, Hanna is 22 and she's taking care of my marketing, sometimes helping cylinder heads, and wherever help is needed. And our son, Heikki, who is 21, he's taking care of the clutch. So it's really family business altogether, drag racing.
Well, talk about being born into the sport. I mean, being at the top level of the sport for so many years as well, Anita, and as you say, a complete family operation there. I can't argue with that at all. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Luke, over to you, mate.
Well, it's exactly that, isn't it? It doesn't have to be blood to be family in drag racing. Your pit crew and your friends, and let's be honest, all of the fans become one part of the big drag racing family, as we say. Now, Anita, you mentioned earlier the Pontiac, and obviously that you now own it. you want to be careful with that, because we do have someone else on the line as well, and that is Keith Bartlett, CEO of SantaPod, who does have his very own SantaPod car collection. So, Keith, what do you want to say about this Pontiac, maybe?
Well, what I'd like to say to Anita, what year's the Trans Am?
78.
Ah, I sold my 78 Trans Am. It was mine was yellow with the black bird on it, but they are fetching good money now. You know that Trans Ams have gone probably up by 30% in the last 12 months in America. So hang on to your Trans Am, or if you don't want it anymore, sell it to me.
When Hannah was born, I told her that when you'll be 18, I'm going to give this car to you. But the day came so quickly that I took my words back and I didn't give that to Hannah.
Okay.
Sorry.
You know what I've done? I've not promised the kids the cars, but you and I have got a very similarity. I mean, not only have I known you since 1990 and Tommy, but I also have got a similar situation to you. My wife's been racing. She started at 8 and was driving in Top Fuel when she was 18. The 3 kids are been around drag racing since they was born. You remember me bringing Alice to Finland, to Alastaro, when she was like 5 years of age, 4 years of age, and she would be with headsets sitting in VIP or walking around within the Top Fuel teams. And pretty much Lara and Jacqueline have followed suit. Wherever we've gone at drag races, they've been there. So it's I've got a great similarity to you, that the family are all part of the drag racing thing. But two things I'd like to ask you, really. Number one, we know you've been around forever. You've survived the ups and downs. You know, I've worked with you and Tommy right back to when Tommy was driving and you were both wondering who would drive next year. And I think your children took care of that for a few years. But through thick and thin, you've had 1 or 2 sponsors. And before the end of this show, I'm going to go up and put a T-shirt in shop, the first T-shirt that you and Tommy ever gave me in 1991.
Oh, wow.
And it's extra large. It's an SO T-shirt, and I still use it for sleeping. And if I don't, my kids use it. But the question is, seeing you come with finished sponsors, come with sponsorship, use your own money. I know pretty much what it costs to run a Top Fuel team. I mean, I've seen your good years and your bad years. I do remember very smartly when you had Don Lugano come over from the States. From that moment onwards, the team was already doing well, but you really began to improve. And I think one of the things I've noticed you've done with Tommy, you're a very capable team, but when you do bring an advisory crew chief over, it's usually a pretty competent guy from the first place. So I'm sure that's had something to do with smoothing and helping you to stay at the top.
Absolutely, you are right. The thing is that our season is such a short, so that when we can have this kind of help from America, it saves so much time and money that when you don't have to test everything by yourself, when you can ask, because those guys in America, they have been doing that already so many years. They can tell you how to do it.
Yeah, and week out every year. Every single week, that's the difference.
That's right, absolutely.
Now, my last question before I go into a little quiz with you, but my last question is, if you weren't drag racing, what would you be doing? You're in the same situation as me. Our whole family comes from drag racing right the way through. If you weren't drag racing, what would you and Tommy be doing? And outside of your chicken business?
This is a very difficult question because drag racing has been all our life. Maybe we would maybe sponsor some other athletes, maybe like skiers, or maybe we would be sponsoring a skier and we would follow her or his career and visit those competitions then, maybe.
Yeah, sure. No, I would give a very similar answer, by the way. It'd be very difficult. Lastly, I'd like to do a little simple quiz with you of 4 questions. For example, question number 1, you would give one answer only. Top Fuel or a cruise around the world for 2 of you?
Top Fuel.
Okay. Would you, this is pretty unfair to say this really, but would you want an American crew chief or an English crew chief as a beginner, as starting up in Top Fuel? American or European?
European.
Okay. And if you had the choice of a dinner for you, your husband, and a couple of crew at the most exclusive restaurant in Europe you could choose, or you could have dinner with all the crew in the pits after a successful drag racing day.
The last one, of course.
Yeah, but some people would not choose that. And would you, last question, do you prefer to race Liam Jones or Andy Carter?
That's a tough one. I take Liam.
Okay, well then that's your answers are pretty much all what I thought you would answer all the way through. So I probably know you as well as I think. Great. Thanks, Anita.
I just want to follow up on that, actually, Anita, to one specific pairing between you and Liam last year, where you had the quickest ever side-by-side top fuel run. Liam went 389 with a 3, you went 387 with a 0. You did brush the wall in the shutdown area. I hate to remind you that, Anita, but you must have felt you were on an incredible run there, but then also you would have seen Liam out in front of you because, well, obviously he did leave first, but how does a pairing like that feel? I know he was only qualifying, but how did that feel?
Liam and his team, they were doing really well last year. So whenever it is expected to have like a very tight and fast runs, of course there's like an extra tension there, so to say. I knew that Liam was going fast, but you never know the exact times. You can feel the top speed, but it doesn't tell you everything. So you never know before you are on the other side of the finish line and when the crew guys are coming and telling you what happened. But yeah, Liam is one of the fastest, and so it was nice to run up against him on that day.
Well, you've pretty much taken on everybody in Europe, Anita, over your career. You've had 15 event wins. You've had 82 round wins. There could be a few more that I haven't actually traced as such, but your most memorable championship, I've got to ask you that.
Did you ask what is the memorable?
Most memorable championship? Was it your first? Was it your last? Was it the tightest? What's been the most memorable one for you?
The most memorable championship is 2016, because the previous before that was 2000. So there were quite a few years between. And the other thing is that Hanna and Heikki, our kids, couldn't join that meeting because of the school. But they surprised us, and they took, without telling us, the flights to SantaPod, took an Uber from Heathrow and came to the SantaPod Raceway on Saturday evening. So I felt that I was already the champion when I saw my kids there before Sunday. And on Sunday, it was true thrill. I lost on the semifinals to Duncan because of the fuel leak. But on the other hand, Stig lost to Mikke Kåkered. So without Stig losing to Mikke, he would have passed us in points and win the champion. But he didn't. And we won the champion. And after all these years winning the championship, what has been our target was very strong. And I felt that because we have been trying to do that such a long time, all the people were joining our joy, because they knew how hard we have been trying to do that. So that was the best day I had.
Luke, obviously when you talk to Anita, you see her in the pits. I mean, we're watching the racing from the tower, but you see it from a different perspective. You see Anita coming back into the pits, and you obviously want to have a chat with her as well. How do you approach Anita when she's literally just come back from a run? She must be all pent up with, the excitement of the run as such. How do you approach a racer like Anita?
Well, first of all, I actually have to work my way through the mass crowds of fans. Anita is one of the drag racers that is so popular with all the fans, and everyone comes over, and she really takes her time to speak to all of the fans and have photos, sell t-shirts, and just talk about anything about the car. But anytime I come up to Anita, she's more than welcome in for an interview, and I always look forward to seeing her progress throughout the weekends.
And Keith, just a quick question into you as well here. Whenever Anita runs on that racetrack, you are always stood on that start line watching Top Fuel. What does it mean for you to watch Top Fuel dragsters go down the SantaPod Raceway?
I'm going to give two answers to that question. The first answer is it gives me the same thrill as it gave me right back when I started running the ETFA in 1991, and I stood on the start line with Top Fuel cars and thought, wow, am I really doing this? And right now, if it was tomorrow, I'd be standing on the start line, still pinching myself and saying, am I really doing this? It's just amazing. However, I do have a little statement to make to Anita, which I'm sure she'll appreciate, and it's a question of sorts. Whenever you see Anita and she arrives in, she pulls into the pits at a SantaPod event, she always says, it's good to see you, I'm home. And fans hear that. Fans hear us talking to me. If we're talking to each other, it's quite often the fans are gathered round and they hear it. And Anita often says, this is my real home for drag racing. And I'd like to just say to Anita, that means an awful lot to me, but not just to me, but to all the fans when you go out and say, you see SantaPod as your home for drag racing. And it's a fantastic thing that you've got. And I'd just like to think everyone at SantaPod pays you back because you are idolised at SantaPod. You and Freddie Fagerstrom are in the same league. You're absolutely idolised.
Thank you, Keith, for your kind words. Now I need to have a tip and look at my mug.
Look at mine.
This is how I'm getting things down.
Got a problem? Ask Keith.
Ask Keith. And mine is royal families.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Don't forget, before the show's over, 1991, that was your T-shirt. And it says on there, auto happening. It was there. You ran under the banner of Tommy's garage thing. The chicken farm wasn't mentioned. There's the T-shirt you gave to me. Tommy and you, or Tommy had a very good sponsor, Esso. And the best thing of all is that's become a family heirloom. Alice used to sleep in it. Laura slept in it. Jacqueline sleeps in it. All I can say is Team Happening and Family Happening are very close to Team and Family Bartlett.
Oh, dear me. I'm so surprised to see that. But good to hear that you have been wearing that.
Yes, we've all worn it.
The whole family.
The only one who hasn't worn it is Suzanne, but that's because she's got her own ones. And she wants to beat Team Happening, not be equal to them.
Oh, brilliant. Did you know that last year we upgraded the other spare chassis as well? And we are going to put that other car ready as well, or that was the previous plan of this season. Well, we had a plan at the beginning of this season to put the other car ready as well. And Tommy was supposed to run at Kauhava.
Yeah.
But now when Kauhava is cancelled, so I don't know what's going to happen now. But there again, we might have two cars.
Yeah, well, that would be fantastic. And he will also be running at the home of British drag racing and the home of Team Happening for sure.
Absolutely.
I did only have one more question, but I've now got two. So
I've got one left, so I've beaten you to it. I've still
go on then, you go.
It's not a question, Anita, it's a statement. This year it would have happened. Next year it will definitely happen. I wonder how I feel when I stand on the start line and in the left-hand lane is Anita Mäkelä and in the right-hand lane is Suzanne Kellett. Who do I want to win? My hero or my wife? I know what I should say.
Poor Keith, I think you are in trouble.
I think I'm in big trouble. But there again, if she does manage to beat you, I will come around and go, I'm so sorry, Anita. I didn't mean it to happen that way.
But there again, the one, special feature in our sport is that you are happy. Of course, it's horrible to lose. But when the other person is winning you by like a good run, then you're happy for her or for him. So it doesn't kill you on the other way around. You're happy and let's see next time is more the atmosphere then.
I think that's very true. Over to you, Colin.
Right, two questions, Anita. The first question, you have a dream weekend. The Top Fuel final is set. Anita Mäkelä against Tommy Happening. Who is going to win?
Well, this is tough question, but of course the driver is taking care of her own job. So I'm trying to beat the other car, whoever there is on the other lane. So no mercy, sorry.
Very good answer. Very good answer. My other question, and this is a little bit out of left field, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How did you feel about when Keith announced that SantaPod was going to become an all-concrete racetrack?
I was happy. And there again, we felt that that is the place. And like Keith said, that SantaPod is my home track. I'm so proud that you are investing into that. And every year you are making the facilities better and better. And that was one of the big steps as well. Now we have had those American crew chiefs, and now I'm having this Australian crew chief as well. And they are all giving high words about SantaPod Raceway and the traction there. It is as good as anywhere else in the world.
I mean, Keith, I'm going to come back to you very quickly on this one. The European record 3.80 set at SantaPod Raceway. You must be absolutely delighted with that.
Yeah, absolutely delighted. And as I've told everyone, we've still got work to do on that track. And when we do the final structure that we're going to put on the surface, which will improve it, basically grinding, it needs grinding, I think it will be even better. But as I said earlier in my interview, the problem is we also need to pay attention to the shutdown area as well. The shutdown area is very important when it comes to safety. I remember Anita's crash, and I remember several other crashes, and when Barry Sheevels and Mickey Coulgerhead all crashed on the same weekend before we put concrete barriers in, I feel really, I get scared, and I need to do everything I can to make the track safe, fast but safe. And that was a big step forward when we put the concrete track down. It made it faster but safer. You will have remembered we also hired the concrete barriers. The barriers are probably higher at SantaPod than anywhere else, but yeah, safety comes first for me.
So, Anita, you're ready to run in the 3.7s?
I think so, yes. And we have this Australian pen over at our chicken farm, and getting all the parts ready in March. And then everyone knows what happened at the end of March, and Ben had to leave back home earlier. But, well, we are ready whenever there is a race to run.
Now you can see Luke has got his new engine right next to him there. He's going to be putting that into his dragster when he finally gets round to it. Luke, would you fancy trying to take on Anita down the racetrack? Would that be quite an interesting matchup, wouldn't it?
Oh, hell yeah. Just give me the car. Keith, give me the keys and I'll take him for a drive, for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm ahead of you just by one.
So 2019 was the year of the 50-50. We had 4 ladies and 4 men mainly in the main championship sort of running. 2020 was looking like we were having an extra lady joining the championship, but we also have in this show another lady who is driving dragster, and one day might be in top fuel dragster as well. But who else have we got joining us for this conversation, Colin?
Well, I know she is a big fan of Anita. She's followed her career very nicely indeed, and would love to emulate the fantastic trophy selection that Anita has got behind her there. It is, of course, another champion as well we have from the sportsman ranks in UK drag racing. She races a car that's affectionately known as Dolly Daydream. It's a family dragster, of course, for the Kellett family. And it is the one and only Leah Kellett. So a very good evening to Leah.
Hi, Luke. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Leah. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Obviously missing the racing. How are you?
We're really good, actually, and we are delighted that you've joined us for our first Santa podcast. We've had a fantastic chat with Anita. She's brought us up to date on her progress as such, but now it is your turn. So, defending Super Cop champion from 2019. My first question has got to be, What was that like, winning that championship?
Do you know, unbelievable. I can't really describe it. It doesn't feel real. I still don't feel like it's happened, you know. It's dead strange. But obviously, it's the most amazing feeling, winning any event, but then to win the whole thing, it's just unbelievable, really.
Leah, now you didn't actually start racing till not that recent ago, did you? You didn't join the junior dragster ranks like your brother. You've just jumped into the car and just gone flying and taken championships. Do you feel that that's helped you, or do you reckon you might have liked a go in the junior dragster as well?
So I've always wanted to do it, but funnily enough, when I was younger and reached about 16 years old, I did want to go straight into Super Comp, which was really weird. I don't even know if Joe was even racing then, but I always wanted to do that class. It just so happens that I'm in that class really because Joe's in Super Pro in that dragster. So the only reason I could do comp would be to do that in that car. I've never actually wanted to do the juniors. It's really weird. I've always just wanted to go straight into Super Comp, I guess. I don't know why. But yeah, just got in and did it.
How does it work in the pits though? Because you're running the car in Super Comp, Joe's running the car in Super Pro ET. You've got this change around. Obviously, it's Joe is dialing the car into whatever he wants to run. You've got to change it so it runs 8.90. Do you ever get it confused? Do you go, oh no, the car's going too fast because it's on Joe's settings, or is Joe going, what's the car only going 890? How do you manage the runs between yourself? Because that's quite an organising part of your racing, surely.
Yeah, and the classes are actually pretty much back to back. So it'll be Joe, then me all the time. So I'm always like, oh, quick. So that's why I'm always in my race suit and I've got my helmet on me and things like that. Because as soon as Joe's gone down that line, I wait there, the car comes back and I get in and go. But I do obviously try and gauge off his run, because then I'll know if it's going to go faster or slower. Obviously, I run the throttle stop, so we'll just change that number in there. And I have to remember to flip a switch down in the car so that activates the throttle stop, or I will actually run a Super Pro run. And I think I have done that before accidentally, but luckily just in qualifying.
Now, you said you've been around drag racing for a long time, obviously not racing in the car, but you've been part of the family and the pit setup. Do you have any heroes from racing that you've seen over the years?
So, heroes. I've been to the States with my dad from years, but you know, I would actually say the heroes are from when I was little and watching it here rather than you big boys in America. Going back to, because I was really young and used to go with my dad, and we used to watch juniors run. We were dieharders, you know, we used to watch every class in the juniors, and the Morris boys, they were like, we were one of the first that we always used to watch. And then when we became friends, I was like, oh my God, we're friends with the Morris boys. And then there's my girl power pal Laura Turbeville. She's one of my heroes because she's been doing it since she was young, and I've looked up to her because I did actually used to really brick it getting in the car. Not that anyone knows, Joe doesn't know this. But when I first started out, I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was so scared, honestly, that I used to watch Laura because she was so chilled, and it made me feel so at ease. And she's always supported me before and after my runs. And so, yeah, Laura's one of my heroes. And obviously my brother, because he's done it for so long. So I'd say those, yeah, they're my heroes.
Why is the car called Dolly Daydream?
Everyone always asks me. So the story behind Dolly, okay, is we were in the States when I was a teen, and we went with loads of the people from SantaPod, spectators, racers, anyone and everyone. It was a trip, the trip organised by Robin, and some spectators who went there. We all just got together, and obviously I'm just a bit of a dolly. I can't even explain. I can't even explain it, just because I'm a bit, what? I don't really know what's going on most of the time. You have to really thoroughly explain things to me. Anyway, going back to that story, one of the guys just turned around and went, "You're Dolly Daydream." and it stuck from me being 17. So then that was it. I was nicknamed Dolly Daydream. And then when I got into racing, we had to obviously have a name, and it had to be Dolly because it came from actually going racing and being named that.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. And that's right, Anita. That is a very good question, actually. Anita, does your car have a name at all? I know it's obviously, the team car as such, but do you have a name, any of your cars at all?
No, it's a pity that we don't have the name. And Leah, it's great to hear the story behind of that name. And I wish that I could have a name as well. But, well, because we are having the chicken there, so the power chicken will be always guiding us and leading us. But maybe we should have a competition someday, somewhere, that please make a suggestion of the name which would fit my car.
Please, don't do it in the UK, otherwise you're going to end up with Dragster McDragface. I can guarantee that.
Really?
Now, obviously, Leah, you just seen us interviewing Anita, and she mentioned that there's going to be a second car that Tommy will be looking to jump in. If the opportunity ever come up, would you sit yourself in the Top Fuel Dragster?
I would absolutely love to go in Top Fuel Dragster. Given I've just said that the Super Pro dragsters terrify me, it still actually does. But I would like to give it a go. Yeah, definitely. I bet the bus is unreal, and what you guys do, I don't know how you do it, but I'd like to edge my way into it, and I wouldn't say no if somebody offered me a go. I definitely wouldn't say no. I'd like to give it a go.
The only way how to learn to run a top fueler is to run with that. There's no shortcut. And that's the only way how to handle 500 kilometers top speed as well. You can always develop yourself only in what you are doing. So only by driving top fuel, you can develop your driving skills in top fuel. So I'm sure that you could learn that easily as well.
I mean, I've only been down the track in 11 seconds. I think, Luke, you've been down in the 10-second zone. Leah in the 8s and Anita, well, in the 3s. Could you imagine, and that's right, Anita, this is it's a joint question for Leah and Anita. Your first experience in that Super Comp car, Leah, and Anita, your first experience in Top Fuel, I think just must have been earth-shattering. Leah, your response first.
I just remember setting off. It wasn't a comp run. I've actually got a Super Pro license, so it was only until after. So when I first let go of that button, I literally was like, oh my God, like I've watched it for so many years. Obviously it's fast, but being in it, it's a totally different ball game, as you'll probably know, being a race. Watch it, yeah, it's fast. But then I got in, let go, and I just did not anticipate that power whatsoever. Don't know about you.
And Anita, your first run in Top Fuel, obviously you raced in top alcohol, top methanol dragster, whatever you want to call it, but your first runs in Top Fuel, that must have been a massive wake-up call.
I can remember that my vision went very narrow, and that was, how to say, it was like a shocking feeling that everything happened. Even you try to keep your eyes wide open, you couldn't actually see. But when you get used to the top speed, then your vision will just come normal again. And but I think that is because the top speed is so fast that it takes a time to adjust your eyes and control to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luke, as you say, we've got 2 championship racers here. Fair enough to say that we're 2 wannabes, but what would you like to actually give? Would you like to have a go in Super Comp against Leah? How about, we've already mentioned the Top Fuel going alongside Anita, but Super Comp, that could be something quite interesting, surely.
Certainly. It'd obviously render me to 890 dialing, which, let's be honest, I haven't driven the dragster at full speed yet, so I don't know what it does. And at the moment, my comp eliminator index is 755, so that's a heck of a jump. So you actually could find me in Super Comp next season with the dragster. So I would look forward to taking on Leah.
Oh, it'd be absolutely fantastic to see. Leah, bearing in mind the situation that we're in at the moment, how are you coping with the lockdown, and how keen are you to get back up to the racetrack?
Oh, as keen as anyone and everyone. It's actually been a bit of a blessing in disguise for me. At first, it was obviously a nightmare, but I was in the middle of changing my business slightly. So I've had 12 months of a bit of a battle with the council to change my premises for a change of use. And that's failed miserably, even though I tried and tried again, like they say. But no, it doesn't work, actually, if you do that. So I've diversified myself. And before lockdown, I've been changing my shop into something. And the lockdown came, and it's actually helped me to do that whilst I've not been busy trying to work here, there, and everywhere. So I've actually been busy setting up a business. So it's not been too bad for me, to be honest. But I am eager to maybe get back to work soon, and definitely the track.
And what about the family dragster? Obviously, your mum and dad, and of course Joe. It's a complete family operation there. Bearing in mind that Joe was running the car first, and then you sort of came in a little bit later on. Is Joe okay sharing the car with you?
Do you know something that you're not been well? So, yeah, he is fine with me sharing the car. I did think, oh my God, he's going to feel like I've pushed him out of the dragster, but absolutely not at all. He's been so supportive. And I actually think he gets more emotional with my runs than his own runs. When we both won the event last year, he just won, came swinging the car back around for me. And he was like, quick, Leah, right, this is what you need to do. And was really, I was like, you just won. He was like, did I just win? And then after that run, he obviously burst out in tears. So he's okay with us sharing the car. But have you got a little brainwave that we might not be sharing the car this year?
We're exclusive on the Santa podcast. Go on, pray tell.
Yes, expand.
So who knows? And if it was all, I don't know. So
it's got to be known now.
So there's a second dragster coming down to SantaPod. We won't be sharing no more.
Oh, we love an exclusive here on the Santa podcast. That's going to be something to really get excited about. So the Dolly Daydream Dragster is going to be a reality. Is it painted? Is it liveried? What's this? How far along is this one? This is fantastic.
So again, we've got this other dragster. We're putting Joe in the new dragster, and I've got the Drumming Man dragster, which will look exactly the same, but we've just got Drumming Man off that, and Dolly's going to be on the side of that, so you'll know that's mine, and Joe's going to have the second dragster. So I was worrying that it looked like I'd kicked my brother out of his dragster, but it's not at all. He's excited for this new dragster, and I think it'd be good for him, and it's one of his good friends' dragsters. It's an awesome car, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun in it, definitely.
Watch out, Anita. Joe's coming for you.
Well, good news.
not Top Fuel, or else I'm in there.
Oh.
Well, as you would say, Colin, on that bombshell, it's been a brilliant episode of the very first Santa podcast. And thank you very much to Leah, and thank you very much to Anita. Have you got any final words for the show, Colin?
I think it has been absolutely brilliant. It's been very enjoyable, very entertaining, fantastic guests, I've got to say. Anita, thank you so much for taking time out and spending some time with us, and your fantastic trophy collection as well. Massive hi to Tommy and to the whole family and everybody over there in Finland. And Leah, Dolly Daydream, I miss you, darling. I really do. We've had some fantastic times down on the start line together, photo bombing, interviews, you name it. And I tell you what, Luke, I just can't wait to get back to that sort of thing once again.
Yeah, I can't wait either. Meanwhile, doing this weekly, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week for the second episode of the Santa podcast. And obviously, hopefully next week we'll have new guests, and you never know, new news in the world of drag racing.
Yeah, that's very true indeed. So once again, to Leah, to Anita, thank you ever so much indeed. And like you, I can't wait for next Friday's edition of Santa Podcast, and we look forward to seeing you.